I put in a 3 mile run today. I ran 4 miles late last night, so that gives me a total of 7 miles in the last 2 days. Um, the calves were sore when I woke up this morning, and right before that run, I'd spent probably an hour out in the yard with my brother, playing a game somewhere between dodgeball and catch. And so I have to say that took any spring out of my legs that I had. But it was 72 degrees today. Is probably the warmest day we've had so far this year, and the weather was too nice to turn down a run. So I set out for 3 miles. I'll throw up the splits, and all of the miles ended up being sub 10 minutes. I think the average pace overall was 9:44. So that's not too bad of a run for me. I wasn't really pushing the pace all that hard, and I ran a hill on our road. I had to go up and down it twice. I think the elevation gain is like 55 feet. I haven't ran that hill in a long time because I've been running in the dark here lately, and I don't like running hills in the dark. But today it was, 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I decided to run that hill. I expected it to slow me down, but I guess, it didn't hurt me too bad on the paces. But during that run, I, kept thinking about the idea of modeling ourselves after the greats. And I don't mean that to sound like you should copy people. I hear a lot of younger kids say, I want to be the next LeBron, or I want to be the next Curry, and that has never settled right with me. I don't think you should strive to be somebody else. I think you should strive to make a name for yourself. I've got a journal written down in my notes, and I'm going to share that with you guys at the end of the video. But the closing line of that goes something along the lines of, I wish for my love of living to be greater than my love of comfort. And so, a few people I follow extensively are, people like Cameron Haynes, a very well-known professional bow hunter, ultramarathon runner, just, different things there. David Goggins, I'm sure we all know who David Goggins is. Yvonne Durick, Jocko Willink. But I'll speak on a few different people. Cameron Haynes, like I said, runs probably 2 marathons a week, usually about 10 miles a day. A lot of people, hate on him and tell him, you don't have to run a marathon to kill an elk. But, I would argue that being able to do so certainly gives you an advantage. If I remember right, the draw weight on his bow is, somewhere between like 90 and 100 pounds. People typically shoot somewhere between 50 and 60. 70 seems to be pretty common. But a lot of people hate on him for shooting a 100-pound bow because, it's deemed as overkill. But, he sees it as an advantage because, he's trained long enough to have the capability to shoot a 100-pound bow. And so he shoots a 100-pound bow. Why wouldn't you if you could? So there's, Cameron Haynes in that regard. Look at David Goggins, and all the things that, he's done that should theoretically be impossible. Can you imagine not doing any cardio other than hopping on the Stairmaster or something 20 minutes once a week, cruising at like 300 pounds, and then signing up for a 100-mile race, and, you run 70 miles and you're peeing blood and crapping all over yourself and throwing up. Your shins are fractured, the bones in your feet are broken. Then you get up and run 30 more miles. That's, it really doesn't make sense at all. There's a story from, Kobe Bryant. If I remember right, I'll probably end up butchering this story. But one of his teammates comes into the gym at like 6 in the morning, and Kobe's in there practicing. He's covered in sweat. Looks like he's been in there for, an hour at least already. And I believe his teammate, practices for 3 hours, and then he's getting ready to leave. And Kobe is still relentlessly practicing. It's not like lackluster free throws. He's pulling game-winning shots and game-winning moves. And his teammate asks him, he says, "Kobe, why are you still in here?" And I think Kobe's reply was something along the lines of, I don't care how long you're in here. I want you to know that I'm training harder than you, that I'm putting in more work than you. I follow Yvonne Durick. I think Yvonne is probably the greatest image of discipline and commitment that we have in the day-to-day world, or in this modern-day world. The man has been squatting for over 1,500 days in a row. To be honest with you, I can't name anybody else that I know that's done something for 1,500 days in a row. Let alone sit down and take the time to record it and make a video about it and post it. I look into, Greek philosophers. Yvonne actually has a quote by one of these philosophers. I believe it's from Aristotle, and he has this quote written on the top of the squat rack. And it says, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit." And, I've read a book from one of these guys. It was from Marcus Aurelius. The book is Meditations. Probably one of the best books I've ever read. It's honestly probably a life changer for me. But, I look at these greats in all the different aspects of life. I look at the greatest runners, the greatest basketball players, and I'm not even a sporty type of person. I don't give a rip about basketball or football or, anything else really. But I look at the greats from every sport. I look at the greats of mentality and discipline. I look at the great Stoics, the great philosophers, and I feel like we should pull something from all of these people and try to mold ourselves, into the best combination of qualities that we can be. It only makes sense to me that we should desire to be the highest, class of person that we can be. And, by highest class, I don't necessarily mean by material worth or, the amount of money you have. I more so mean, like your ethics and your values and your character. What degree of character can you represent? And, a lot of the people in the valleys are going to look up at the people on the mountaintop and say, why are you going to run a marathon every day? Why are you going to run every day? Why are you going to train? But the people on the mountaintop are looking down and asking, why aren't you doing these things? And not to claim that I'm on the mountaintop, but, there's only one way to get there. And that's, to train and live as if you're scraping and scratching for every inch of elevation gain that you can get. But anyways, I guess it's gonna, wrap it up for tonight. Just, model yourself after the greats. Be the best that you can be, and I'll catch you tomorrow.